Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Food and Finance Show, and today we have a great guest on. Now, this one is very special for a lot of people because, I really love the humble beginning story, and there's some great posts that I saw where he was talking about his product and how, tasting your product is a very, very important part of it. And I was a little jealous because the business is cookie dough, so I'm really excited. So stay tuned for the episode.
Welcome to another great episode of the Food and Finance Show, where we talk about two things we know you love: great food and money. So stay tuned because we got a great show coming your way.
So without further ado, let me bring on my amazing guest, Jimmy Feeman, and that is Feeman with no R.
There you go. Thanks for having me on, Terrell.
I am great, man. I am great. So how are things are you guys still in Nashville?
Yeah, we're still in Nashville. I'm here right now, and honestly, Nashville is home. I've been here for about 10 years, and I don't know if I ever plan on leaving. It's a fun town. It's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Nice. Now, where were you from? Well, I guess where did you move from before Nashville?
So I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Moved down here for school, and then I never ended up leaving. I've left like kind of temporarily a couple times, but I always end up finding my way back here.
Nice. Yeah, I know my wife and we used to live in Cincinnati. We weren't from there. We were there for work, but we lived there for about 3 years and decided, hey, we wanted to come south to warmer weather. And so I'm just like, I don't think I'll ever go back.
No, it's hard to go back to the snow.
Absolutely. I know, like my wife and I were flying out to Seattle because I'm going to be doing some training for law firm owners on like finance, understanding the finance part of their business. And I was looking at the weather and I was like, oh man, 50s. Like,
so yeah, Washington's cold. People do not realize that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, enough about, like I said, my journeys and travels. I mean, tell us a little bit about, your background. We know you guys are in Nashville. What was it about Nashville that appealed to you? And then also, how was it like starting a business in Nashville?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Nashville, honestly, the reason me and my wife, Megan, are here was for the music industry. So we both came down to go to school at Belmont University. They have a music business program there. It's pretty good. It was good 10 years ago. I think it's still good. And we both kind of had dreams of like being in the music industry. I wanted to do stuff with songwriting. She wanted to be like a manager or something like that. We both ended up graduating, and I actually graduated with a finance degree. So I switched my path during college. She graduated with a music business degree, started working in the music industry. And that's kind of where we were at right before we started NoBaked. Starting a business in Nashville was honestly an incredible experience. The community here is extremely supportive. We found this really cool kind of like incubator kitchen that we started out of when we first started, before we had a scoop shop or a storefront. Met a lot of really cool people who were business owners in the food community that showed us kind of like how to market our business, but also how to just run it operationally. I mean, my only experience in the food industry, and Megan's, was just kind of like front of house, like being a server in college. So I didn't have a ton of experience in the kitchen. I'd worked in a kitchen before as like, the guy like prepping sandwiches, but I'd never actually, and I did that in high school. It's like I'd never actually like ran a kitchen. And granted, cookie dough is pretty simple, but there's nothing simple about running a food business. There's a lot of moving parts. And just having that ecosystem of other entrepreneurs was amazing. There's an incredible food truck scene here in Nashville, which the reason that has a lot to do with us is like all those food truck operators run out of those kitchens, and being able to learn from them and use them as kind of like mentors and also just friends was really, really helpful.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. I mean, and it's one of those things that I find in talking to so many, business owners in the food space. I mean, whether that's here in the US, we've had guests on from different countries in Africa and Asia. And what I always find is that, a lot of people never really think about the business side of a food business. Like they think about the food, but when you really look at it, it's like, man, there's so many layers to the business side. So I'm excited to hear how that unfolded for you guys.
Yeah.
Now, what was it about, cookie dough that was like, hey, this is the idea we want to go with?
Yeah. So, like to what I was saying before, Megan was working in the music industry. She had gotten a job at a really great publishing firm, and she hated it. like long story short, she did not like her job. I was complacent in my job. I didn't really like it. I didn't really hate it. I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and that's a weird place to be. But I think it's something that a lot of people in their 20s can relate to. So we were sitting there, and Megan was desperate to find something that she could do to replace her income, which was not a lot at the time. She's working in the music industry. They don't pay well. So she was like, all I have to do is replace my salary. I quit my job. So she started experimenting with different business ideas. She came up with cookie dough because it was the one thing that she made or had been making her whole life that she thought had value. And it tasted really good. So we kind of started with that, and I got roped into helping her in the kitchen. At the time, we were just dating. And, I would get off work and I would go help her in this commercial kitchen at night. We'd make cookie dough. We'd sell it at farmers markets on the weekend. And after about a couple weeks of that, she quit her job. Specifically, she launched the website. She got like 12 orders. It was, I think, a Saturday night or Sunday night. It was a Sunday night. She goes into work the next day, realizes, I don't know how I'm going to ship these orders, walks into her boss's office, says like, hey, I need to quit. He's like, why don't you stay for 2 weeks? She's like, no, I think I'm just going to leave. and she walked out. And for her, that was kind of like her moment of leaving, and like what really solidified, like, okay, it's going to be cookie dough for me. I think for me, there's this really cool moment, because in any business, there's like a cool pivotal moment where you realize you have something, because a lot of people try stuff. And I think, the first part is just like putting in the effort, try it, go out, see if people like your food. The second part is like finding out people actually like your food. And so we have this specific craft fair, which actually is coming up again. They do it twice a year here in Nashville. We participate every year. It's the Centennial Craft Fest. We were at that, and we sold like 300 jars of cookie dough in like 2 hours. And it was this crazy moment of like, whoa, people actually like this. And I think that was cool. It was like we had like musicians showing up that were like semi-famous, buying cookie dough from us at different markets. Posting about it. We were growing followers on Instagram really fast. So it was like that summer in 2017, we really started to realize like, hey, we might have something here because people like our product. And at the end of the day, even now, when we're making business decisions, we always go back to like the fact that like, hey, we have a really good product. So we need to solve for all of the other problems. Like we need to ignore that and figure out like you said, the business side of things, because just because you have really good food doesn't necessarily mean you're going to succeed. It's just the requirement for entry, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's the one thing you have to have, and then everything else you need to figure out after that.
Awesome. I mean, I absolutely love it. I mean, I always, it's always great to hear, those stories of where people had kind of that, I guess you say like that aha or that proof of concept, to where it's just like, hey, you either sold a few or you sold a lot, and it's just like then the light bulb went off like, hey, we can actually do this thing.
Yeah, it's a cool moment.
Awesome. Now you talked about, like I said, in which I think there's a great concept, a way of looking at it. I mean, like how, a food product in a food industry, a food product that people actually want is just the price of entry. I mean, and then really focusing on some of the other business stuff. What's been some of, like I said, the other business areas you guys have kind of had to figure out, along that journey?
Yeah, we've had a long journey, man. So when we first started out, we were doing farmers markets, as a lot of singularly focused food products do. So like whether you're making a cookie dough like we do, or a hot sauce, or an ice cream, or whatever, usually you'll have like, that moment or that period of time where you do farmers markets. We did that. Then we opened up a scoop shop. So we opened up our first scoop shop in Nashville. It killed it, knocked it out of the park. We had a lot of organic marketing, a lot of really great brand recognition from the farmers markets we'd been doing. Opened up a second scoop shop in Louisville about 3 or 4 months later. which was wild. You know, we were crazy and we were in our early 20s. So we decided to go all out constantly. And we were taking ourselves to the brink over and over again doing it. Because for us, it was like, we need to grow. We need to make this thing happen. And we were like kind of craving growth. So we did that. We got to 8 scoop shops, 3 of them franchised, 5 of them corporately owned by the end of 2019, and realized like, hey, we may be going down the wrong path. Some of the scoop shops outside of Nashville weren't doing very well. Our franchisees didn't seem to be like super like into the business. They were more like, hey, like they saw our grand openings that we did where there were like these 2-hour lines. And I think they wanted a piece of that. And we may have like not selected the right people for the grind, because unfortunately, like when you have a new food product, a new business, and a new city, especially in the food industry, low margins, like really, really low margin for error, you got to do everything right. You have to do everything in your power as the operator to make it work. So we realized like, hey, we're craving something, but like we went back to the product, right? We were like, we have a good product. We may have picked the wrong way to distribute it. So back to the drawing board, we were like, let's relaunch the online store, see what happens. Well, those are an ironic time to launch it because right around the corner from end of 2019 is COVID. And we had to shut all of our shops down. So March 15th, we shut all our shops down. Megan looks at me and she's like, I don't really know what we're going to do. She was due to give birth to our daughter in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we were both like, we're broke. We have no revenue. Like revenue is gone. That's not good. We just got done building all those stores the summer before. The winter is never great. March is usually our highest sales month. We were like, this is bad because this is March. And Megan looked at me and she's like, we have to lean into the pivot that we were going to do. So I guess we're going to be e-com now. And we went from about $20,000 a month in sales. I think in February of 2020, we did like 22 grand in sales online. To by the last week of March, we did $80,000 in sales online.
Wow. Impressive.
And yeah, it was our team coming together. So a lot of the people that work with us and work for us coming together with ideas, not wanting to lose their jobs, obviously us not wanting to lose our jobs because, you know, NoBaked is our job. Mm-hmm. And just being really creative about how we reached out to our customers and said, hey, like we need help. And then also how we marketed the brand online. We had never tried before, to be completely honest. Like we had been going out saying we were going to do this pivot, but not putting any of the work in to do it. So like you said, did we set up a fulfillment center? No. Did we set up a production line? No. Did we start doing Facebook ads? No. There was no email marketing. There was just like this slight little like inkling every month of like, oh, we're getting like 20, 30 grand in like organic sales, whatever. And it wasn't, you know, leaning into this business and operating it and really trying to get out there and get the word out about it. And I think that was the thing that COVID did for us, is it like lit a fire under the business again and said like, hey, you guys are going to have to act like a startup again, which is what we are. And that was honestly the reason that like we're still here today, but it may be the only reason the business is as successful as it ever became. We would not be where we are right now without COVID, which is strange, but it's true. Mm-hmm. So that's been the biggest challenge for us, is figuring out how to distribute our product though, because again, like, you know, we pivoted to e-com, and then this year we've learned that, you know, that may not be the most profitable way to distribute our product. It's hard to ship refrigerated stuff over the internet. So it's just really figuring out distribution has been the most difficult thing for us when you're singularly focused product, because getting people to come to one dessert shop is hard. Shipping the product online is hard. And it's really just controlling your costs. That is the most difficult thing, because people do want to buy our product, but we got to make money while we're doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's, you know, such an amazing point. I mean, that you mentioned about like with COVID, because one of the things that I've been telling like a lot of my clients is where, you know, COVID has really forced you to do the things that we probably should have been doing all along. Like you said, of really paying attention to our customers and really watching the cost closely, especially for all of my restaurant and, you know, my food and CPG products, where it's like, if margins are tight, like I said, you really have to watch your costs. You really got to understand it. Like every decision you make, you need to know, what is that decision going to do to the cost? And be very aware of that. So no, I think that's amazing that you guys are working through that and thinking through that.
Yeah, it's definitely still a struggle. But like you said, I mean, like you're just trying to get your clients to focus on the fact that like it's every little decision, and it seems simple if you're like running a lemonade stand as a kid. Like, hey, I buy my lemonade for this, I operate this stand, and then I sell it for this, and I make money. And then as things get bigger, it slowly becomes like more things going into the lemonade and like more things going into the like quote unquote stands you're operating, like how you're getting your product out there. And it gets complicated. It gets kind of confusing. I think we've definitely like grown a lot. I mean, if you had looked at me or talked to me about this, like, 4 or 3 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, I understand it, but I didn't really understand it. So yeah, it's a learning experience for sure.
Awesome, awesome. So now I want to learn a little bit more about, the actual cookie dough products. Like, what are the top sellers, or what are the flavors, the mixes that people really love?
Yeah, so we have a ton of really cool flavors. If you come to our scoop shops, we have even more. Right now, we just have scoop shops still really open in Nashville. We also have one in Chattanooga, and one in Springfield, Missouri. But online, we have 7 different flavors right now. We typically also have like a flavor drop that we do every 3-4 weeks. So right now, it's pumpkin chocolate chip and pumpkin spice. And pumpkin chocolate chip has been like by far the most well-received flavor in the scoop shops and online that we've had in a really long time. So people have gone crazy over it, which is really cool to see. I love it. I have it in my refrigerator right now. But the top seller that we have is chocolate chip. It always has been. I think it always will be. And it's funny when you see people kind of react to our product when you're doing sampling events or you're just giving it out to customers in person. You notice that like they look at that as like normal cookie dough and all the other flavors as like, I guess, flavors of cookie dough. So it's interesting that like chocolate chip is that inherently like cookie dough that people, when they think cookie dough in their head, they think chocolate chip. Brownie batter is also really popular, and then we have a confetti sugar flavor that's pretty popular. And then it's funny to see this, but online, our Cookie Monster flavor, which is blue, so it's like a cookies and cream dough dyed blue. It's got M&Ms and chocolate chips in it. It's really good. But people typically don't want to get it at the scoop shops. Like it's always been kind of like number 6, 7. Online, it is way more popular. So like seeing how people interact with it online has been really crazy. Even in wholesale channels where people want to grab it and sell it in their stores, or they want to buy it for themselves or as a gift online because they think it looks cool. I've always thought that was really interesting. Because in person in our scoop shops, you'll see people kind of shy away from it because they don't want their mouth to turn blue, which is funny. And it does turn blue, so you got to be careful of that.
No, I think that is awesome, bro. I love it. I was laughing when you talked about like, how chocolate chip cookie is like the best. I always like, if I had to like put a persona to like, I guess you'd say, to some people I've heard them say like, the sugar cookie really is like really like the plainest, probably one of the plainest cookies that, so like when people think about cookies, like that should be the standard.
Yeah.
But chocolate chip cookies have had such a great marketing run to where it's just like chocolate chip cookies are like the king of the cookie category.
I know, right? I mean, whoever invented the chocolate chip cookie needs to get some royalties. I don't know where they are. They're probably not around anymore, but wow. Like you guys killed it.
Yeah, they did a great job on branding. Now,
Yeah.
so where can people find you guys online or on social media?
So people can find us at NoBaked. It's N-O and then baked, BAKED, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, basically all the socials. And then online at nobakedcookiedough.com. If you guys want to order our stuff, you want to get some cookie dough, you want to send it as a gift, that's the best way to find us. We also are live on DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Postmates, all that jazz, in 23 markets around the country. So if you guys are in LA, Houston, Atlanta, and definitely here in Nashville, like we can get you cookie dough the same day. So definitely check that out and see if it's in your area.
Nice, nice. I love it. Well, before we wrap up, one question I always love asking every guest that comes on is, I mean, when you think about, your journey, what that's been like, all the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns, and you think about where you are now, what's 2 pieces of wisdom or 2 pieces of insight that you will leave with the audience? And it can be something you've already repeated before.
Yeah. So the biggest piece of advice that Megan and I always give out to other entrepreneurs just in general is just go after it and do it. And really what we mean by that is like, don't wait around to make a plan. Get out there, test your product, try it, try to see if it works. And then once you know that that product is good, the second piece of advice kind of leans into this. Don't go changing your food. And this is food industry specific. Don't go changing your product. Don't go changing the way you make it, especially after you've created like a cool customer niche. If you're going to pivot your business, you want to pivot your distribution model. You want to pivot how you get it to your customers, not what the food is, because you might as well go out and start a different brand in a new business if you're going to change the food. The food itself can't change. Like you got to like figure that out and then stick to it. And obviously making really good food is the price of admission in this business. So you got to make really good stuff first.
Nice. I love it. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on. Definitely was a pleasure, being able to share your story with the audience. So thanks for being a great guest.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.